Yeah, so this one.
going through.
Yeah, I mean these are the shortcuts, but otherwise you can always type in whatever. Like as I said, if you want to create a customer or create a supplier, you can just type in the search bar and directly get it. Need not be like you need to have a shortcut to it. Maybe like shortcuts are mostly useful. Like if you are supposed working for a particular client, and then for that client, like going forward after you have gone live, maybe their task is to just create some journals or find journals. So in that case it will make sense for the client organization to actually have few shortcuts, so that every day the daily activities they can just run it through from here. But otherwise, as an implementer, like as a person who is implementing Workday in their organization, I don't think you need I mean you should be much worried about the shortcuts.
Okay. That
I
we
mean you
can
can
work,
directly.
that
Sorry.
we can work from here as well.
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
Okay, so so just a quick recap for Kishore as well. So this is how our Workday environment looks like. So this is a cloud-based system, and you can just type in your organization's ID, like URL, and just get in here from any system if you want, because Workday is a cloud-based system. And we just talked about, I'll just quickly take a recap of the sessions, and you can get the details from once you see the recording of the previous class. So this is basically a Workday logo wherein you can click at any point in time, so that you get landed to the to this, you end up like getting into this landing page. This is basically a search bar wherein you have to type in any information that you need, or like suppose you are creating an organization or creating a company, creating a cost center, whatever it might be, you can just type in the search bar and you'll get the task, and you can run it to go through the processes. Next, we have something called chatbot. This is specific to any particular, and yeah, in Workday, this environment we called it as tenant. So this is a Workday tenant, and if for the tenant the chatbot is enabled, then you can get your assistant from here. This is a bell icon, which is normally a notification. And suppose there is a period close activity going around, or period close is in progress, those kind of notifications you can like trigger those notifications, so that all the workers from your organization will be getting the notification about your period close activities. Similarly, we have other requirements which we'll be discussing going forward. And this is basically inbox, which is specific to Julie balls. So here what you can do, you have to like certain, there are certain, like when you suppose say create a customer or create a supplier, it has to go through I mean some definite steps. So in your step, like for creating a customer, if there is some approval process that needs to go through, suppose say I'm creating a customer, and then suppose it has to go through my like a customer administrator needs to approve that particular customer. So now if I log in as a customer admin and I have created a customer as a implementer, then I can come to the my inbox, and it will be like all the approvals that are pending from my end, from the customer admin end, will be visible in the inbox. Okay, and this is a quick overview of the profile. So we can go to see our profiles at any point in time. These are few shortcuts. I can go through my reports, I can go through drives, I can go through the documentation, I can also go through help section, which is configured for this particular tenant. Okay, so we just talked about the application header yesterday, and we will be discussing more about like I mean, going forward, we'll be discussing like deep diving into the search bar and the various tasks for various creation of organizations, companies. So we will be discussing about that today. So just yeah, feel free to stop me wherever needed, and yeah, we'll let's get started. So yesterday we created our reorganization. So just to recap again, reorganization is like it's something like an event that enables us to group all the activities into a particular event, so that it can be tracked in the Workday system. Okay, basically a reorganization is used, as I said, it is used as an umbrella, so that all the companies, all the cost center, everything, whatever we are tying up, if we want, like, or everything should have a common effective date, then in that case we go for creating a reorganization. So the first step one for creating anything in Workday or like building your tenant is first creating a reorganization. So for that we just typed in create reorg. So you can see this is the task, create reorganization. So yesterday we created our demo reorganization with the effective date. Effective date is like maybe the date where you want your transaction to get into. Like say your company is 20 years old and you want your historic, you want to bring in your historic data as well into the Workday system. Then in that case, the day your organization was founded, maybe you can put that as an organization date, or like in general practice we prefer putting it as 01/01/1900. So I'll not create a reorg because we have already created it yesterday. So now we will directly go on to create a company.
Okay, okay,
Okay, so yeah, so going back, we created a reorg. Now yeah, we will discuss about creating a company. So company is actually, yesterday, yeah, we talked about some organization type. So yeah, as I understand, you guys are from different ERPs. This might sound a bit confusing to you, but I would say just hold on to I mean, whatever I speak, just hold on for 4 5 days, and that should be once we discuss about all the organization type, you can actually relate it to the ERPs you have been working on, and then it will make sense. Because as I understand, there is like your terminology from say SAP or Oracle might be using organization in a different perspective, and in Workday we might be using some different terminology. So just stick around for a few days and you will get a hang of what exactly we have in the Workday terminology. Okay, so I'll just discard it. So company is basically one of the organization type which we can deal with, which we can create in Workday. So again, a company can have a parent, like we can have a parent-child relationship in a company, and company is basically the primary organization type, which is like all the transactions made be customer invoice, supplier invoice, or say accounting journals, or everything is tied up to the company in Workday. Okay, so first task whenever you go for any Workday implementation is creating a reorganization, but like no transaction is carried out at the reorganization level. It is just a umbrella wherein like we are clubbing things together, like tagging it to one name. But otherwise, reorganization is nothing where like the accounting will occur or we will tie the transaction to. But company is something where we will tie our transaction to, like the customer invoices, supplier invoices, they will be brought in for the company and they will not be tied up to the reorganization that we created. Okay, so basically, we will be setting up the companies to record the business transactions. Second usage is creating the financial statements, and third is like if your client has a requirement for creating certain custom reports. So in that case, also we use companies as a base. Okay. So any doubts, or should we get started with creating a company? Okay, so for creating a company, so the task is called create company task. Okay, so we will type in create company. So now the moment I type in create company, all the associated company, like the task and reports will be shown up. So now as you can see, the create company, it is asking me to create, like choose a reorganization. So I had created a demo reorganization. Demo 001 is what I feel. So this is the one which this is the one demo 001 which we created yesterday. So I will create this as a reorganization. Click OK. and then I need to enter some like, see, I had given for my reorganization, I had given the effective date as 01/01/1900. So that's why my availability date is auto populating to 01/01/1900. But say, like a company, normally in the real scenario, a company goes through, say, acquisition, or like it acquires some other company. So so another legal entity starts into play effective suppose today. Then in that case, while creating those companies in your system, you can put today's date as the availability. Like, this field is editable, but for now I will keep it as 01/01/1900, because this company, this is, I'm just creating the parent company maybe. Okay, so I will give the availability date, like I'll keep it as it is, and this rate asterisk symbol is nothing but it says these fields are mandatory and I need to anyhow choose these fields. Okay, so now I will give the name as, let's say, wealth of, I mean, just some company name. I'm just typing. So let's say it's wealth of knowledge. Okay. And now this is a code. Okay. Code is like for specific to your organization. If you are having any organization code, like I can use work or anything. So now you can put any code for your company. And also, suppose you want to prefix, like now once you search for wealth of knowledge, suppose you want to prefix this WOK, like it should appear in your I mean, the moment you search for company, then you can tick this up. Okay, so I mean, if you want this prefixed to your wealth of knowledge, otherwise, like I'll create two companies. One, I will just tick this up, and then the other company I will not. So it will make sense what this does. Okay, so for this one, I will just have wealth of knowledge 001. Okay, and I'll give the code as work 001. Like, see, now, as I say, normally when you go for acquiring a company, so that company ties up to your organization starting from the acquired date, right?
Mm.
So the
Yeah.
availability date for your organization will be today's date, like the date when it was acquired. But practically speaking, he will never bring the historic data from like last 150 years, because like suppose normally, when, why do we have this availability date or effective date? Like, to bring in the historic journals, whatever is sitting in your system. Maybe suppose that today you are using Oracle Finance, tomorrow I plan to use Workday Finance. Okay, so I
Yes.
need to bring in those 30 years or 40 years of data, but normally it's a business decision that is being made. And normally in practical scenario, you because see, a lot of thing needs to, now if we are suppose even dealing with 5 years of data, we have to do a lot of reconciliation, because at the end you would have also seen the balances does not match. Okay, now I, for my acquired company, I won't be anytime making a decision to bring 150 years of data, like, which is practically impossible. So maybe I'll give the availability date as today's date, so that starting from today I can start creating the transactions. And maybe it is a business decision to make, like suppose you want to bring the past 5 years of data, 10 years of data, but will never bring 150 years of data. But in that case, if like you're thinking to bring it, then yeah, you have to like completely revamp your structure, because this reorganization effective date, you cannot go and change it. No, it won't. Like, because I've given the effective date as 01, it won't accept. So that's, I mean, no company is beyond 1900. So that's actually a standard that we use, that, okay, we will at least
Yeah.
do 01/01 1900, and any company would be only established after that.
Yep. That makes sense.
Okay. So now here the subtype is company. I mean, this is an organization, Workday delivered organization type. So I'll just select this as company. Now I can restrict it to be only visible to my roles. Roles, I'll speak about roles when we talk about security. But as of now, we will put it as everyone, so that my company, like whoever has access to this Workday tenant, can see my company. So that's the reason I put it as everyone. Now external URL, like if the suppose you have a company URL, you can just put your company URL here. Just type in create your external URL, and you can just put your organization's URL. Otherwise, this field is not mandatory, so I'll just skip it, like skip this for now. And the next thing is company currency. So company currency, now I can select, suppose say this is like the USD, but now Workday does allow you the flexibility, like even if you choose a company currency, you can actually use different currencies in your transactions, and the ones which you used in a transaction is called the transaction currency. So suppose say tomorrow you make a transaction in say euros, then we have something called Workday. In Workday we have that exchange rates, so it will automatically, like once we hit the lesser, it will bring in the data in the USD format, but Workday will allow you to create a transaction with euro, and in the back end it will take up all the exchange rates and it will calculate the appropriate USD value, and it will populate in our, like it will show up in our ledger accounts as USD. But again, there is something like three kind of currency we have in Workday. First is the company currency. So this is what defaults out in all transactions, but you can always override it, so and use a different currency in your transaction. So the currency which you use in the transactions are called as transaction currency. Now last we have, like once you're done with the transactions, you want any financial statements or you want a particular report, in the report again you can have your own currencies, and like you can use a Canadian dollar or you can use a INR, anything is fine when you are using a reporting currency. Again, like in the front end you will see the values in the INR, but yeah, in the back end it would have used the exchange rate to calculate, like tag it back to the USD. Okay, so irrespective of whatever currency you choose here, you can always change it while in transaction or while for reporting. Okay, now I have certain like here, like these are few of the assignable roles. I think someone would have created this. I don't need these all, so I'll delete it. Maybe I'll just try to just have a owner, which is myself, because I created it. And let's say I'll have just these roles which were just mentioned before that. These, like I think someone who is using this particular system might have created it. So we will try. Will not use it, and we will see, like while we discuss about security, we'll see how we can create our own roles. But for now I'll just assign few roles to my company, like I am the owner, Julie, and then I'll have a accounting manager say, and I think there would be a user, Teresa T Serrano. This
Hey,
is a
sorry to
Workday user.
interrupt you.
See, roles are nothing but now in a company, you know, like you have a CEO, you have a
Mm-hmm,
CFO. So, what is
mm-hmm,
their role? And like, say, accounting manager, when I say, okay, let's get back to the example. I said for customer, when you're
mm-hmm.
creating a customer, there might be a customer admin or a maybe a account receivable specialist, and you want that every customer you create has to go through approval. Now, who should be approving it? Okay, suppose I define that, okay, the customer admin needs to approve it. Now, who is the customer admin for my company? So, the person who is tagged as a customer admin for this wealth of knowledge 001 can approve the customer that I create.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
So otherwise, if like, because see, once we go ahead, like each of we, when we talk about security, we'll be talking about something called business processes in Workday. So business processes are nothing but they are like the step. Like Workday also doesn't know what it should be executing. Like why is it showing me create company? Why is it showing me these fields? So this create company is company creation event. We have a business process in Workday. So now, okay, once this business process is nothing but in the layman term, it is called like the step by step flow. So depending upon your client requirement, you configure it. Like if it has to go through certain approval, then in that case, roles plays a significant role. Does that make sense? Like for
Yes,
say
yes.
tomorrow I have a journal which has to go through the account. Like suppose say it crosses $1,000, and for company wealth of knowledge 001, then it has to be approved by Teresa Serrano. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
like now I create a journal, I submit it. It won't be like in the completed status. It will go to the inbox of Teresa Serrano, and she will see in her inbox that, okay, I need to approve this particular transaction, and then only it will be posted to your ledger account.
Okay, okay.
Okay,
Understand.
so
Yes.
yeah. So we will talk about roles and details in the classes coming forward. But as of now, I'll just assign few roles here. So okay, so that's all. Okay, so I'll just put accounting manager for now and click OK. So this is a company that I created. Now let me create another company, and then we will just type in create. So then we will create a company hierarchy, and we will. So again, I will just make sure I'll put the same reorganization. So we will have demo. We will have demo 001. This is a reorg which we had created. Now again, I will give say wealth of knowledge 002 of knowledge 002. The code is say work 002, and this time I'm not including it in the name. Again, the subtype is company. I will have visibility as everyone, and again let me also have a UST. And this assigned roles, like even if now, if at all I don't assign the roles now, at any point in time I can go back and create my own roles and assign the required worker to it. Okay, so it's not a problem. But as of now, again, I'll also put accounting manager here as well. I mean, okay, let's not put it, let's have only a owner over here. That should be fine. I'll just click OK. So my other company is created. Now, if I go to roles, these are all the allowed roles. I'll just search for owner. Okay. If I go here, I can see myself as the owner. Okay. Similarly, now suppose let me go to find view company. Okay. Now, if I go to view company, I just search for wealth of knowledge. Okay, this is my 002. I'll create it in another tab. I will have zero. This is the other one which I created. So these are the two organizations, these are the two companies that I created. As you can see, I had not marked include the code for wealth of our knowledge too. So this is only the company name is visible here. But for the other organization, I had just marked this, tick this up. Work 001 is prefixed here because I had checked the include code in the name as I mean while creating this organization. But yeah, even if the like the work 002 is not prefixed here, but still I have it. I mean the code is still tagged to this particular organization. But again, what there is this code is actually, I mean obviously this is a business decision. We will have a unique code to it, but the uniqueness of this company is basically, I mean like every element in Workday has a reference ID. Okay, the reference ID for no two elements in Workday, may it be a organization, may it be a cost center, or anything, no two reference IDs in the same system can be seen. Okay, so if you want a primary key, which is like I want to search, like tomorrow, say in an integration or somewhere, I want to search for this company. So I can uniquely identify this company by seeing the reference ID associated to it. And for seeing the reference ID, you have something called like now this three dots over here. What you see, this in Workday terminology we call this related actions. Okay, now for this company, if I go to the related actions, okay, I go to, there would be something called integration ID over here. There is something called integration ID. Then if suppose I click on view IDs, so this is a company name which is auto generated by Workday, and this is the type. So this reference ID is unique. Now no element in Workday, may it be a company, may it be a cost center, maybe anything that whatever I set up in Workday can have this as a ID. So this is the uniqueness, and this workday id is also the is unique, which will identify wealth of knowledge 002. Okay. Yeah,
By
because we have actually a something called sequence generator in Workday, and there it is actually defining how these default. Like now, the sequence generator itself says that okay, this organization reference ID should be in the format of company hyphen some number, then hyphen some random number again. Okay,
Mhm.
or say like tomorrow. Now I create say okay, let's see what is the code for wealth of knowledge 001. Okay, see, let me open that. Integrate. Go to integration ID. Yeah, integration ID. Then I will go for view IDs. Now, see, this is 2146. This is 2147. So it is like incrementing, and there is something called sequence generator in workday, which is by default it defaults to like sequentially. But suppose tomorrow you want that okay, my sequencing should happen like 2146 plus 2, like every time I create a new company, or maybe in some other format, you can go to the sequence generator and change it. Otherwise, I mean, workday will default it to out. And you can also edit this reference id if you want something. Your client might have a specific requirement to like use a particular format. You can always go to the, there is a task called maintain reference id. You can always go there and edit it as required. Okay, so yeah, you can create your own sequence generators. Like if you want it in a particular format, you can always create it. Otherwise, workday will default it as in how it is needed. Like I can just go through one of the existing ones. I think there's many people would have created it. Maybe I'll just randomly open one. I'm not sure what this is, but I'll just try to open. So here there is a format which has been given here. So similarly, those formats as in how it is defined now, like suppose I create a accounting, this is for say accounting balance EIB. EIB is what we will talk about later, but this is used for external, like bringing in external like bulk data into the system. So for that, it is using like the id format should be in this format, like a year, then month, then date. So similarly, it will be like once I create a eib, it will default it out to this format whichever is mentioned here. So you, and it's not necessary for your organization to come and set up the sequence generator. It is again a business process decision. Otherwise, it will always default it out into the format specified by workday. And you can always type into say maintain reference id. Okay, I'll just search it in the other tab. Okay, I'll go to say maintain reference id. Okay, and the best part in another workday is now I did not type in like maintain reference id totally. Like now if I just search for maintain ref id, it is very user friendly. Like even if I don't know what the task is, I can just put maintain ref id, and then it will just give me this particular task and the report. Okay, so this is what it gave me. So even if like you're not sure what is the task, then you can just type in the keywords and it will give you the related task and reports. Okay, so now suppose say I have this company reference id, and I want it to be like company 002. It should be shown up as company 002. That's what your client says. So I can go to maintain reference id, and this is the organization type as company reference id, right? What I can do, I can just type in company. Okay, so I'll just put company and click OK. So there are like say 1850 companies that are available in this tenant, because this tenant would be used by many users. So there are 1890. So I can just, there are 19 pages. I don't know where my company is, but like I can just request like go to my company, whatever. Like I can see it here only, or otherwise let me go to company this. I'm not sure which page it would be in, but let me just search in the 19th page. Otherwise, so I'll just type in company. It
maybe at
will
the
show
end of
me
the
list of,
page it will
yeah, maybe, but not. I mean, always, if we have any reference ID beyond that, then it will see
Hmm.
it's not in the end because it is in the, I mean, alphabetical order. So that's the problem. Okay. So, I mean, likewise, you can just come here, type in any value specific to your organization, and you can click on OK. And now, if you refresh this, the integration ID will change as per your requirement. Like now, what I can do otherwise, I can go to the related action. I'll go to this integration ID. Then I will go to edit reference ID, and then I can just edit it here. I can just edit it like this, company 002. Okay, and click OK. Then I'll click done. Okay, now see, this is my company 002, and the organization reference ID like if for Workday Tenant, this is defaulted out. Like say, I think for the sequence generator or the ID definition for this organization reference ID would be, it is equal to this company reference ID. So that's why the moment I change this here, so this needs to be changed. So all you need to know is that reference ID is the primary key for this company element or any element to say in Workday. Okay, like you can have wealth of knowledge 002, like two companies with the same name. Okay, but I'm very much sure this reference ID would be different for both these companies. It won't ever allow you to have the same company name and the same reference ID for any element. Okay. Yes. Yeah. It, you can anytime come back and change the ID.
Even after you post
But
invoices to it.
yeah. I mean, posting invoices. Okay, you cannot delete a company like you, but you cannot delete a company, but you can come and change the ID because, but you cannot use a ID like say 003 is already existing in the tenant. You cannot make it to 003. You have to
Okay.
choose a unique value. But
Okay.
again, what happens like in a normal workday implementation? Okay, maybe in the next class we will talk about workday methodology, like what goes on through when we talk about workday implementation. So there, normally in the requirement gathering phase, after that we have called something customer confirmation sessions. Maybe in your ERPs also we'll be having. So we will be gathering all our requirements in the form of configuration workbooks. Okay, so those are the business decision, including that of the reference IDs are already made in the configuration workbook itself. So in a practical scenario, I don't think your client will anytime ask you to go back and change a company reference ID at a later point in time. But if needed, you can always come back and change the reference ID. But again, it should be a unique value. Okay. Yeah, so are things clear till now?
Yeah.
Okay, so next thing is we will now, if for one of our companies, say I'll just go. Okay, now this is a company. Then I'll go to related action. So there are three things which you need to very much like very much essential for any organization. Is first is defining the company contact information, because that is something when it comes to financial implementation, this company contact information, whatever you mentioned here, will actually default it in your transaction. Like you can always override it, but that will something be defaulted out. So I will make sure that we update the company contact informations. For that, again, for a specific company, you need to go to the related action. Okay, then go to company over here, and here you can see edit company contact information. Okay, so I'll just click on this, and now it will allow me to add phone number, addresses, email, messenger ID if we have any, and the web addresses. So let me just try to add a phone number. Again, you can have, let's say, 5, 10, 15 phone numbers, there's no limit. But again, for the phone numbers, like normally says, so for billing purposes I want a different phone number, for remit too I want a different, for shipping I want a different. So all these things you can define separately, but make sure one of your phone number, like if there is one phone number, that is a primary phone number. But otherwise, suppose say I have 5 phone numbers, I have to select one phone number as a primary phone number, which will default out in our transaction. Okay, so say I can just give any number I can give. If and again this has to see, this workday is already giving me an error because like workday has been designed as such so that this is a workday defined error, and for United States this format is not correct. Okay, so that's the reason it is showing me like, okay, I cannot enter so many values. Okay. I mean, but yeah, it won't say that okay, this number is valid or not. Just that depending upon number of digits, it's giving me the error. Now, if I suppose say I will say we will have something for INR maybe +91. So let me just select India. Okay, and now this is a 10-digit code, right? Yeah. So now it will not throw me error because this is the valid format of India's phone number. So it is not showing me any error. Now, if I go, I can select the phone device. Like, if is it a mobile number? Is it a landline? Is it a fax? Is it a PISA number? So accordingly, I can just select the device type. Okay, and then I can just, yeah, this is visibility. I want everyone in the organization, like whoever comes to this tenant, if I want this phone number to be visible to all, I can mark this as public. And again, like, even if like I'm not selecting this primary, this will be primary by defaulted because I have only one phone number. But say I can add, like, click on add again and add another phone number. If I want, I can use the same usage, that's not a problem. But yeah, you can have the same device type as well. But yeah, if you have multiple phone numbers, you can just mention it here, and at any point in time you have to remove it, you can just click on remove. So it's that easy. So you can just add your phone number. Similarly, I'll just click on address. So for address, say I'll go, I will suppose say effective date is something because your organization, the addresses might change. Like today you are supposed sitting in one tech park, maybe tomorrow your company can move into a different tech park if it is not a company owned place. So in that case, like starting say from today you are shifting to a new company, like new location, you can always have the effective date of that address starting from today. Otherwise, we will normally be defaulted out to the 0101 again 1900 itself if it is like starting. Otherwise, you can just put in when your company was founded, and then I will say me have a country as USA and say I'll something have address line. This is address line one is mandatory because there is a strict sign over here. So we will have 111. We will type in say just randomly type in something. So we will have something like this. Then city, let's say we'll have New York. Then state, we will again choose as New York only. But the state, depending upon the country we have chosen, the states like these are visible from here. So you can just select any of them. So now I have to give a valid postal code. Like if I give this, this is, see, it's showing me an error because for USA this is not the right format. I mean, it doesn't allow 3 digit. So this is a hard stop which is given by like now I cannot click OK until and unless I fix this error. So this is a hard stop for me, which is like a validation given by Workday itself. So yeah, I will have to give a 5 digit code. So now see the error is gone. Now again, I this will be defaulted out to primary because I have one only. So I can again mark it as public and click OK. So now I added a phone number. I added an address. So yeah, so these I didn't add. I mean, it's not necessary to add. Like none of these fields are necessary. Like you might not have address, you might not have a phone number, but in the actual scenario, always a company has a phone number and has an address, wherein you will be obviously using it for shipping. You making your shipment for say customer invoice, supplier invoice, or anything, you will definitely need a contact information. Like while creating company, even if you don't define it, but while creating customer invoice, you will always have to come back to your company and add the addresses, and then only you can choose the address in your invoice to make the shipment to. Okay, so all of these things are tied up. So it's a best practice to give the addresses or the contact information the moment we create a company. Okay, so we'll click on done. So this is the very first I mean, this company contact information is very much needed. So I will go to the other organization that I've created, and I'll just do the same quickly.
Mhm.
Okay, I will just search for the company. So for that, I need to go to view company.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just type in view company. Then I'll just click here, view company task. Then mine is wealth of knowledge, or I'll just search for work 001 because that is the one I prefixed. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so this is one of my company which I have created. I'll click OK. Okay, and now I will go to the related actions. This is the related action. I will
Okay.
go to integration ID here, integration ID.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'll click on view IDs. I
Okay.
can see the company reference ID here.
Okay. 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 Fine. Fine. But when you change, I mean, when you type that ID to change, then
Mm-hmm.
how to change? When you
Yeah, you
have
can
typed.
always go to, yeah, you can go to related action, same integration ID you can go. Okay, and now
Mm-hmm.
click on edit reference ID.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
Edit
Got it. I
reference
will do
ID
that.
and you can override this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, and also
Yeah.
you can, like, even if like you have 10 organization, you can also go to maintain reference ID task directly, search for your company, and you can make the changes there as well.
Okay. Okay. And that three dots. What you call that?
Related
That.
actions, this is
Okay.
called
Fine.
related actions. For
Okay.
every
Okay.
element in workday we will have a related action, so yeah, this is something specific to workday.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay,
So when you were
any other ones?
showing,
External is, see, this is a company reference ID type, but you have, suppose, say, some other type of reference ID which is specific to your organization. Now, suppose there is, I have a company reference ID here, which is like Workday default. But say now your integration system, no, mostly external IDs are used in the integration. So what I can do, I can go to edit external ID, and suppose say I want ID from. Wait, let me just create one. So see, I suppose say I want a ID of my own, like normally they are used for integration. Like say I have irrespective of company reference underscore reference underscore ID, I have something called organization ID maybe. Okay, or some other name which is specific to your organization. Those external IDs you always can come and have your own setup ID. Mostly it is used for integrations.
yeah,
Okay.
that's what I wanted to confirm. Thank
Mhm.
you.
Yeah, it is like for the cloud connect. I mean, these are specific to integration. Now, suppose your integration has a specific set of ID, say this. Then for that, you can have your like. I'll just randomly put this. We will not talk about integration. Okay, so this is now my wealth of knowledge for Apex in outbound. I have given an ID. Okay, now if I go to my related actions and if I go to the integration ID, see now I this is a Workday delivered reference ID, and this is a external ID that I've tagged to my organization, which I'll be using in my integration. No, integration, I mean, from the financial perspective, you need not be bothered. There's external IDs. They are like, even I'm not a integration person, but these external IDs are basically extracted, are used in the integrations. Okay, like there are finance integration, banking integrations. I mean, that is completely a separate module. So those team, they use this integration, this external IDs to configure their integration systems. Okay,
Okay.
this is
Okay.
something from the finance perspective. You need not be bothered. I just randomly chose one of the integration system which was already available. Okay, I mean this
Okay.
would be used like there is something called SOAP UI, which we have a tool called Workday Studio tool. So they extract this particular integration there in the Workday Studio using SOAP UI, and then they use this external ID to uniquely identify their integration systems. But yeah, that is something from the integration side, and we need not be bothered about. I
Okay.
mean,
Okay. Okay.
finance, we are the functional team, so they are the technical one,
Got it. Got it.
because there we have a bit of coding and XML. We need knowledge about
Mm-hmm.
that
Okay.
content. Okay, so for that, this external IDs actually comes into picture. Okay,
Yeah. Okay.
so yeah, so this is about the contact information. Now, the next thing we will just talk about adding a. Okay, I think I didn't add the contact information for Wealth of Knowledge 001. So I'll just quickly go and do it. So I'll go to related action, edit company, and now I'll just add a phone number for USA. What is how many digits are like
It's 10 digits.
10? Okay, 6, 8, 7, 8. I think now it should be. This 10, right? These are 4, 5, 6. No, 10 digits, it's not taking.
Doesn't allow the 99.
Okay,
Try
okay, maybe.
971 in the first three digits.
Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
and then any other numbers. Because every area has a code.
okay, yeah, see. Okay, sorry, I was not knowing. So, yeah, this worked. Okay. So, this is the one. Then maybe I'll just select, maybe this is a landline. I'll select. Then we have the usage. Maybe I'll just use this time only for remit 2. And then similarly, I'll add a address. So this time 112 Main Street maybe. So yeah, so that's all I'll do. Okay, I'm not choosing this primary, but it will throw me an error because one and only one phone number must be marked as primary. So I didn't mark any of them primary, so that's giving me a hard stop. So I need to choose this, and I need to take this. Then I'll click on OK. Now it will allow me to save the contact information. Okay, so I can see the phone number, I can see my address. I'll be clicking on done. Okay, so yeah, so we have set up the contact information for both of our organization. So any doubts till now? Company currency is like whatever you choose as a company currency, it will default it out. Okay,
Okay.
and your
Okay.
ledger account, now you know what is a ledger account. Like when
Mm-hmm.
you do a financial transaction, your amount, like your credit debit amount, it will go and sit in your, the moment you create, like submit a invoice and you make a payment, the moment you do that, your like those amounts goes and sits in your ledger account. Okay, we will talk
Yes.
about
Mm-hmm.
that when we talk about financial transaction. So
Mm-hmm.
there it will always be saved in the USD format. Okay, because we have default currency for our company is USD. But
Mm-hmm.
now in your transactions, say you have a, you make a European, suppose say you have a transaction in Euro. Okay, so you can
Mm-hmm.
create a customer invoice in Euro, and it will allow you to submit it, and you can see all the values in euros. But the moment it hits your ledger account, it automatically, there is something called exchange rates which are already defined in Workday. You can always put your exchange rate as well, otherwise Workday defaults it out. So it will automatically convert it into USD while hitting the ledger account, but in the transaction you will see it in euros. Okay, so
Okay.
that
So
is
how
for
to set up
transaction
that?
currency.
Yeah, yeah. How to set up
Yeah,
that
we
one?
will talk about where when we talk about
Okay,
the exchange rate. So we will be
okay, okay.
covering it going ahead. So that is called transaction currency. Again, we can also make a reporting. I mean, I can do the reporting in euros. Otherwise, I can do in USD. Or otherwise, say your company needs in maybe a Canadian dollar or maybe any other INR or anything. Then
Yeah,
you can
okay.
always go like choose that as your reporting currency, and it will do the proper calculation and show your report in INR or any currency you choose.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, exchange rate we will be discussing going ahead. So yeah, so then we will discuss about how we can configure it and how Workday defaults out. I mean, this will come in the later part once we discuss about how we will create transactions and all, and then I'll cover this. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Any other questions? We have one more minute for today. Okay, so we are done for today. So tomorrow we will be trying to set up. I mean, we will be trying to set up some tax and maybe accounting details for a company. And before that, we will create a company hierarchy, maybe a parent company, and we'll try to tie these two organizations that we just created into that company hierarchy. Okay, so those things we'll be discussing tomorrow. And yeah, if like time permits, maybe you can just practice these things like creating a company and setting up the contact information, and we can discuss about this further tomorrow.